After the fact, do I think about how much of a piece of shit this person is? Yeah, absolutely. But when you're sitting in the room with them, you can't let it in.
For nearly 2 decades, families in Texas and Oklahoma lived without any answers, never knowing what happened to their daughters. It began in April of 1997, when 12-year-old Laura Smither vanished while out for a run in Houston, Texas.
Laura came through and said, "Mom, I want to go on a run." I said, "Well, okay, but breakfast is in about 20 minutes, so be home for that." And she took off. 30 minutes later, the pancakes were on the table. She wasn't there.
Laura's body was later discovered in a pond. She was nude and had been strangled. Just 3 months later, 20-year-old Callie Cox, a University of North Texas student and young mother, disappeared in Denton, Texas after calling her boyfriend from a gas station payphone when her car broke down. Then, in Oklahoma, 19-year-old newlywed Tiffany Johnston vanished from a car wash. Her body was later found dumped in weeds along the highway. She had been strangled and was stripped of all clothing except for a bathing suit top. The medical examiner also found semen on her body. In August, 17-year-old Jessica Kane disappeared while driving home near I-45. Her car was found abandoned with her wallet still inside. Volunteers searched for Jessica, but she was never found. Investigators began to see a disturbing pattern. A man named William Lewis Reece, who was recently released from prison after serving 10 years for 2 sexual assault convictions, quickly emerged as a suspect. But despite his violent history, there was never enough evidence to charge him. For years, the murders remained unsolved. Reece eventually returned to prison, this time for the kidnapping of another woman. It wouldn't be until 16 years later that investigators finally caught a break. New DNA testing linked Reece to the semen found on Tiffany Johnston's body.
We did feel that Tiffany's case was the best shot at getting William Reece. He'd been in prison all of this time since late '97, but that sentence was coming to a close. So we're at the point where it's time to do something or William Reece is going to get out of prison.
You know, this guy had been interviewed by multiple agencies over the years. Shut him down.
This was going to come down to the interview. It had to be the right guy to do the interview. And it had to be someone that was willing to take the risk, because if it didn't work out, you know, that person was going to be to blame.
Enter Jim Holland.
I'm probably about 2.5 hours inside that interview. I get deep inside his head, and I'm sickened by the thought, possibility of what he did, sexual assault of a child. But the reality is you can't show that, because if he sees it for a second, that you're judging him in a negative way, then you're not going anywhere. So you have to remove feelings. You know, after the fact, do I think about how much of a piece of shit this person is? Yeah, absolutely. But when you're sitting in the room with them, you can't let it in.
Watch Killer Confessions: Case Files of a Texas Ranger on ID and stream it on HBO Max to see how Texas Ranger Jim Holland carefully convinces serial killer William Reece to confess to his brutal crimes.